man, how's it going? How's it going? I'm a little I have like a little not emotional hangover, but I'm just a little tired from actually not even tired. I don't know, man. I don't know how to describe myself. But I was at open mic late and we were didn't get out of there till like 1 in the morning. I went up almost last and oops, hold on. Dun dun dun. Okay, I'm starting my 11 minutes at a time. I'm feeling a little silly, as I said, so. And I think that's good because what I'm going to talk about, I want to like kind of breeze through it. I think I've been not wanting to do this section of the story because I had to delve into some gross stuff. So that's why I'm being a little silly. Pardon me. But let me recap first. This is the second episode. Where we last left off is was meeting Mr. Love and recognizing him as the wise man at the bar, meaning that all the energy seemed to swirl around him. He was the anchor. Basically, it's not my first time at the rodeo, meeting and befriending wise men at the bar. I have a detective, there's something I can detect them. I don't know how else to put it. Sure enough, Mr. Love ended up being one of the true wise men at the bar. I would go to karaoke, sit next to him. He was my cheerleader. I got to know all of his childhood friends. He grew up in the neighborhood. He would tell me history about the neighborhood, which is really important to me because I feel like this is my forever neighborhood. And it reminds me a lot of a small town on the outskirts of the big city. We would watch baseball together. He used to be a baseball coach, a little league baseball coach, and he lived in his truck in the parking lot. And so he was there a lot. And he made it very clear that I could come to him at any time. And he would always be there for me. And he ended up being true to that word. He met my mom one time. She came in and he said the same thing to her. I'll always be there for your daughter. He took pride in that. Now, we're not talking about somebody who is much older when I talk about a wise man. He's only 10 years older than I am, just to give you a parameter here. So what happened, though, is 2018, unfortunately for me, I became a victim of a predator, and I call that predator the Wolf of Mount Tabor, who had used my old bar coasters in my old neighborhood to tell me about Dysfunction Junction and encouraged me to go there when he found out that I was moving to this neighborhood. He was eavesdropping on me. It took me a while to become a regular at that bar because I didn't care for it, to be perfectly honest. Until the energy had shifted with a new bartender, and so it seemed to be a little different. It was maybe like 6 months after I had moved in, where I felt like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give this place a chance. The wolf had moved, had been swirling around me, befriending me, circling as wolves do. All of that was happening, and the Wolf of Mount Tabor and Mr. Love knew each other for many, many years before I moved here, and they didn't like each other, and it. Mr. Love never said anything, but it was he after the wolf showed his dysfunction, and I had to remove myself from the situation. That's when Mr. Love said, "I never liked him for you." Oh boy, yeah, it was awful, you guys, and that's when I discovered that it was called dysfunction. That's when I named it Dysfunction Junction. This was at the end of 2018 now, so I've been in the neighborhood 2 years now, and at the same time, they actually 86'd Mr. Love. They kicked out. If you don't know what 86 means in bar vernacular, it means that he was kicked out. and couldn't return. I'm like, he lived in the back of the bar. And he also, like, sure, I know that people would get sick of him sometimes asking for a drink here or there, what have you. But at the end of the day, he really did keep an eye on things. And again, I always felt that kind of the energy swirled around him, and he was the anchor of the bar. So when you kick out the wise man, the energy will shift. Sure enough, the wolf was showing his true colors. I kicked him out. Yeah, he ended up living here. It's so gross. And then there was also some weird person who worked at the bar, who was eavesdropping on me and wanted to be me and single white female me. I was having like this all of a sudden this like complete Twilight Zone happening in Dysfunction Junction. So this is kind of going into beginning of 2019 now. I ran screaming from that place and 86'd myself. And during that time, and I'm laughing just because it was so awful, and I'm looking at my time, I have half left. I just want to breeze through that part. It was so awful. It was the worst time in my life. In January of 2019. Because I was so lost and confused of what was going on. And that's what happens when you're a victim of a predator and dysfunction and gaslit and by two people and all of that. You can please refer to other videos if you want to know what really happened, but that is the best way to gloss over that. So now we're at January of 2019, and wouldn't you know it, but my estranged friend contacted me out of the blue and said, "Hey, this is gonna sound strange, but I have a dog that I think I'm trying to not get rid of." Basically, what had happened is she had gotten engaged to a man who had a dog, and he had this dog for many years when he had a family and such, and now he had a different job. And it wasn't something like an immediate concern of needing, there was nothing wrong with the dog or anything. It was just more like, this poor dog is awesome, and he just isn't able to be home for it. We're considering trying to rehome this dog. And she thought of me because this dog reminded her a lot of my dog, Louie. And she didn't realize that she'd contacted me out of the blue on like the very weekend that I was going through this final thing with the wolf of kicking him out. So because of that, when all your points of references have changed and your life is completely just in this in-between stage, you're just open for new things. And I said, bring the dog over. And she did that next day. And I said, I'll take care of her. I ended up finding her the perfect home for her 6 weeks later. But during this time, my life was in shambles. As I said, it was the worst time in my life. Mr. Love had been kicked out. I didn't know where he was. And because of this dog, which I feel is my dog had sent this dog to me. And because of this adorable dog who did remind me of Louie, Chloe, because of her, I would walk Chloe in different areas of the neighborhood, avoiding Dysfunction Junction, of course, but going in different streets that I normally would, just walking as a average person. And that's how I reconnected with Mr. Love. And I found, because he was parked just like 2 blocks away from Dysfunction Junction, just kind of in this off street. His truck was there. And that's when we reconnected. And he learned what had happened to me, and we started up what we called tailgate therapy. So our relationship rekindled there. always, when I'm saying relationship and Mr. Love, people have such a narrow definition of relationships. It's not romantic, folks, you know. But we started up because I didn't know. I was like, wow, I knew that I had heard that you gotten kicked out. I didn't know. And this had only been like a couple months later, and we chatted, and he pulled down the pickup truck, the back of the pickup truck, and that's when we would start. We called, as I said, called it tailgate therapy. I'd bring him beer, and we'd sit, and he'd pull down the truck, and we'd sit there and dangle our legs and talk about life and the world, and my life and my world, and his life and his world, and the dog. My dog brought us back together. So I'll leave you with that because that's a brighter note. I had this was the hardest one, and we went through that. And now I can't wait to tell you guys what happens next. All right, I'll leave you in suspense. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is really exciting for me. I'm going to be starting to do this series, and also I have many other ideas, and couldn't do it without you. All right, because otherwise I'll just be talking to myself, which I am anyway, but I'm used to that. Ha ha ha. Okay, and that's exactly me. That's exactly the time. I'm getting better at this timing thing. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.